What's up, YouTube? Welcome back. I am going to bring you guys a little bit of a set 5 meta discussion video today. Sorry for the absence. We didn't drop on Thursday or Friday last week just because I had 2 kids that were pretty sick. I just couldn't squeeze the time in to record, so we're putting this one out. I've actually had this slideshow made for like a week and a half. I was kind of sitting on this video for a little while after, doing some testing and sort of feeling like the meta, I won't say the meta settled because we haven't had any competitive play with set 5, but I think I've had enough testing to be able to say like what's going to really shine, what I think is going to be pretty good, and what has potential, and also talk about what is going to be standard as far as leaders that are already pretty dominant. And we'll talk a little bit about that today, but before we get into it, thanks for checking out the channel, guys. If you like the content we've been putting out, please subscribe. It's really helping out the channel grow. And shout out to the Haven Games for sponsoring this video, our sponsor here at Base. And in the link in our description, you can get 10% off your sealed swoop product. I would also like to shout out that this Saturday, the Haven Games in Orlando is putting on a huge showdown. A case is being put up for Top Cut prizing. So if you're in the Orlando area and have nothing to do on Saturday, 6 p.m. at the Haven, the showdown is going down. $20 entry gets you access to possibly winning a lot of product. So yeah, make sure to check that out this weekend. Yeah, let's get into the video right away. We won't waste any time. Alright, so set 5 meta predictions. Obviously, on the screen you see some familiar faces, mostly Kira, Sabine, Vader, Quinlan, Han Solo, and Anakin have made appearances in a lot of these tournaments. That's probably where this is going to land. As far as the meta, I don't know if the meta is going to shake up quite a bit. We'll get through the video talking about it more in detail, but this is who I think is going to shine. Anakin is kind of a curveball up here because I still don't feel like I've gotten even close to figuring out that leader. Obi-Wan, the new Obi-Wan, I feel like has been making an impact off the bat in testing. I feel like he's the most intimidating leader out of any of the new set 5 leaders, in my opinion. And we'll get right into talking about some of this right now. So, up and coming from set 5. So the reason I use the term up and coming is because I feel like these leaders will have an impact. Mostly Obi-Wan. But I don't know if we really tapped into the potential much. Kylo, I know, is sort of a meme deck, but I guess you have to respect him because if not dealt with or planned for, he'll just swing at your base for 20 and kill you. Avar Kriss is super valuable because she's gaining the Force whenever she wants, and I feel like the Force mechanic, it won't be a mechanic that will competitively be filled with only Force interactions. Like, I feel like there'll be splashes of Force interactions, sort of like how we splash Coordinate with having Plo Koon index, or maybe you're splashing a unit from another set using old mechanics like Smuggle. Like, I think Tech represents set 2's big win card that is splashed in a lot of hero decks that are able to run him. I feel like she will be able to utilize that Force mechanic with whatever cards are able to be splashed into her deck that'll make an impact more frequently. So I think that puts her above some of these set 5 leaders. Although her deploy is late and sometimes is too slow to even get out, when she comes out, if you don't have an immediate answer, it's sort of like Kylo. It's pretty much good game unless the math just isn't in your favor. And regardless of deploying her on 7, maybe you're playing against Sabine and the damage is already done, and so like, congrats, you deployed on your 7 or maybe your 6 resource turn. But by then the damage is already done, and your 8 damage to my base isn't going to be enough. Mother Talzin I think just being 5 cost deploy 3/7, so having the Quinlan stats and also having a pretty good ability, I've actually realized that this is probably one of the most understated leaders upon reveal that has happened in Star Wars. And that sounds drastic, and it's because it is. A lot of people said that when she was revealed it would be terrible. I could pull up the receipts and the screenshots from it. She's actually pretty damn good. And so the little support that we got with her, the Night Sister support, is actually good enough to be like, okay, let me splash this in and then build what's already been available from set 1, 2, 3, 4 and make it work. And then you're adding in Vader, maybe you're playing her in ECL. I do think ECL might be the more popular pick for Talzin to pair her so she has the Vader interaction. The new Vader unit interaction, or maybe Red to take advantage of some of what synergizes with her a little bit more, and also being able to gain the Force more often. But so far from set 5, I feel like this right here is going to be the more played in terms of like in competitive. So for meta purposes, I think these can be expected to be played more than a lot of the other set 5 leaders. But I'm happy to be wrong. I'm happy to be proven, wrong about some of the speculation. But yeah, from set 5 up and coming, I think this is where we're going to land off the bat. I think this is what we can look at right now and be like, yeah, this is playable. Everything else is a toss-up from set 5, in my opinion. I hope I'm wrong. I really do. But it does feel like this is where it's going to be. Up and coming from other sets, some of this is no surprise. Some of this is like, why do you feel this way? We'll talk about the non-surprises. So, Thrawn, we'll talk about JTL Thrawn. So he's getting a couple of good cards. He's getting the Legacy ship. I forget, Legacy Runner. When it's defeated, deal 6 damage. So with Thrawn, it's deal 12 since you're doubling it. That card alone feels like it's making an impact on that leader. It's enough to board wipe once or twice, 2 turns in a row. Once on the Chimera play, and then once again on his flip. If the Legacy ship dies, you can do it twice. So 24 damage in a turn. Pretty much board wiping anything. That's pretty strong. That's enough to put Thrawn Yellow like interesting. If there's an interesting category, I'll put him in the interesting category. Set 1 Thrawn also gets a little buff with the new Zuckuss. And some of these like shenanigans of playing big ass ships on your second or third turn, I think is interesting. It's probably more fun than competitive, but I don't know. It might be something to be respected. So maybe he comes up and ends up being a better leader. If you notice, like unintentionally, a lot of these are 6 cost deploy leaders. Not intended at all. They just happen to be up here. Grand Inquisitor is getting a lot of support. I think it's set 1, right? Yeah, set 1 Grand Inquisitor. Is he set 1? I'd hate to be disappointed in finding out he's not set 1, but I'm pretty sure Grand Inquisitor's set 1. Regardless, he's getting support, so I think he'll be, even though like deploying as a 3/6 for 6 is kind of bad, his ability is enough to probably set off some crazy interactions with new set cards, and I just think I think he'll be pretty good. Boba Fett Daimyo. I never can say that word right. I think he'll be interesting because there's a lot of, the hidden keyword's pretty good. So like you play your hidden keyword unit, you're guaranteed to have sort of his ability online more often, I guess. But yeah, I think he'll get a little buff with a lot of the keyword that was printed in this new set. Mostly like reprinted ambushes and just the hidden stuff and raid. I think will be interesting with Boba Fett. I wouldn't be surprised to see him do a little more. His stats are fine, 4/7, so it's pretty good for 6 deploy I think it'll be interesting. I feel like Hero just got super buffed from set 5, and I think his ability is going to be a little bit better this time around. I don't know why. I feel like there's enough new keyword stuff to make it work. Sorry if you guys hear my dog barking. Pretty sure the garbage guy just got outside. Alright, what else we got on here? So, Darth Sidious, Chancellor Palpatine. I simply think just having the Anakin unit, the new Anakin unit giving -3/-3 to a unit is going to be impactful. I mean, you're basically going to be able to turn that online at any moment. So I think it'll be enough to say that he's getting a buff. I can't really pinpoint anything else specifically that's like groundbreaking for him that he's getting, but I can say that alone is enough to be respected, and I think there's more to be explored with that leader. Not having a deploy is still something that is super sketch to me, but I think now more than ever with all the Force stuff, he's probably getting a little more help. I know that there was some success with that leader at a few big tournaments throughout this last 2 sets, but nothing to really be earth-shattering. But I hope that with some of the additions from set 5, Chancellor Palpatine will be more of a force to be reckoned with. And we got Chirrut. Chirrut is just... there's a lot of good upgrades coming in this new set, and then also just so much force synergy. It just turns on Forces With Me card and other great additions that, I mean, Yoda's lightsaber, constructed lightsaber, all these cool upgrades that can be added into Chirrut decks, I think will be really cool. Meta, I don't know if that's quite enough to be considered meta right now and put him above some of the other Hero Blue leaders, but be interesting to see him come out and maybe make some noise with some of the new additions we've got from set 5. And then I've got Kaz up here. Kaz is getting some heat. I'm not gonna lie, Kaz Blue is getting some heat. He's getting Ogdo. He's getting the 3/3 wolf. I think it's Loth Wolf that can't attack, but sure can. And Kaz, at very least, he's Sentinel sitting there on the ground, which isn't bad. But Kaz is getting some heat with those 2 cards, and then just having more access to stuff like I don't think you play Kaz with a Force base, so luckily his buffs he's getting don't require you to use the Force at all. So he can still play his 30 HP blue base and still have the health advantage. But yeah, I think Kaz will be interesting. I've been enjoying Kaz right now. I've been playing a Kaz Data Vault deck that's been pretty fun. Like I said, not meta defining, but could be a sleeper deck coming into this new, for sure. And this is pretty self-explanatory. So still the top dogs. I mean, I think Kira gets buffed like insane with Vader. That alone, like even just playing it with Timely Intervention, Data Vault in your deck, that's enough. Like I don't think you have to fully commit to the ECL, losing all your extra 8 health. Like, I don't think you have to do that. I think you could still play Data Vault with Vader with Timelies and still make an impact. At very least, you're you're playing Vader out of hand, just outright. And with Kira's ability, you can basically turn on. I think she's only giving friendly shields, but nonetheless, like shields altogether are going to be really popular in this next set. I feel like a lot of new shielded units that are going to be pretty popular. So the new Vader unit, just even playing him outright is a threat, but having Timely for it is better, and you can have that in your Kira deck, and that makes your deck a million times better already. Quinlan is getting a lot of upgrades, a new Quinlan unit, Asajj. There's a lot of Force stuff being added where you're just being able to turn on Force Throw more consistently. Obviously, Quinlan has the ping ability, so you know, we talk about yellow hero leaders that have the Force and can throw. I think he still is the top player for Force Throw decks. And then he just gets better. Cad Bane getting some help. I can't pinpoint off the top of my head right now. I just still feel like he's going to be a good leader. He gets that raid unit, so any of the raid unit, like on his deploy, you can play the 6-drop unit that buffs doubles the raid. So instead of him swinging for 4, does that mean he's swinging for 8? No, he's swinging for 6. But with a hotshot blaster, you play the 6-drop unit that buffs raid, put a hotshot on him, he's swinging for 8. So then you have an 8/8 by your 7 resource turn. That's also pinging when you play Underworld cards. The set got a lot of interesting Underworld stuff added into the set. So I think he just gets buffed. Han 2, obviously, a lot of people have been talking about Han 2 and him being able to bring out the Bendus and still bringing out crates and bringing out things that are just really strong and bringing them out a turn earlier, which I think sets those units above a lot of decks that play those units originally because they're not cheating them out. So Han 2 just still going to be good. Vader Pilot I think is still going to be something we have to be cautious about. Still swarming space, still just bashing your face in with big ass ships like the Clone Combat Squadron. If it's big enough. I think he's still going to be a really good leader. I don't think he's going to go anywhere in the meta. There's a lot more space play, I feel like, that recently. Like some of these like big whales with Sentinel in space could cause issues for Vader, but something tells me those cards won't be very popular. I could be wrong. Probably am. But yeah, Vader Pilot still going to be good. Anakin, I think he gets access to the 4 spaces and can really take advantage of it. There's a Anakin yellow deck I've been toying with that does so much discard that you basically never have a hand. That could be cool. I know Anakin really was already pretty good in the meta. He struggled to win events, but still a very strong deck to be expected. And I think he's going to get enough support where he'll still be viable. And then Sabine is just Sabine. She's still going to be good, if not better. Always going to have 1 or 2 added tweaks from a new set going into that Sabine list. I feel like in this last set, it might have been Chewie. Chewie Pilot from JTL. Data Vault. Being able to completely change your health on your base, but still do Sabine things. Has been interesting to watch. With like Timely Intervention and Radishes in the Sabine decks for late game options, not just the 1 to 6 resource game. It's got a late game now as well that has won a couple events, so Sabine will still be good. Now the question is, synergizing with the Force, probably not so much, and I hope I'm wrong on that. I hope there's a Sabine Force deck that is mind-blowing, but I think the Rebel package for Sabine is still very strong, and I don't think Rebel Assault is something you want to switch out. I think you kind of need that in the deck to really fire off Sabine, what she's trying to do. And I don't think she... And we were talking about bases just now, so this is a great segue to talk about this. So it's kind of cut off on the screen a little bit, but the new bases versus old bases, is the Force going to be strong enough to really justify the health difference? I picked Mystic Monastery because I think that one honestly has the strongest pick for new Force bases, or I'll say new rare Force bases. Action, the Force is with you, use his ability no more than 3 times each game, so you just have 3 Force tokens that you can use. I mean, you could use the Force 3 times in a turn. Some decks, they'd only need that Force token to be used a few times to make a huge impact. This, I feel like, could be the sleeper new base that people aren't really talking about, although only being 25 health. Is it enough to justify not playing ECL? Probably not, but do we have enough data to say that it is or isn't? No, we don't. So I think and what comes to mind is like in Avar, you could just use the force 3 times in a turn, and you can get her out hella early. I just don't know if you're able to fire out. Like, I can't think of too many cards right now that can just use the force 3 times in a turn and still have cards to play. Like, how late in the game are you to be able to use the force 3 times? But I think having that option to just gain the force might be really strong, and we just haven't explored it quite yet. And I think Mystic Monastery is going to be the oddball new rare base that we might see in the meta. But at the end of the day, I think Kira Data Vault is still going to be really strong. Having more health is probably going to be more needed than ever in this next meta, in my opinion, because things are just swinging for fat damage. And the power creep on this set is pretty big with some of the really crazy legendaries like Vader, and the new Anakin, stuff like that. So new bases will be interesting. Tarkin Town probably still going to be the strongest red base in the game, but then you have the new rare red base. When a friendly unit deals 3 or more combat damage to an enemy base, the force is with you. This one, see, like, this is a clear cut and dry, like, it's not going to be better than playing Tarkin Town. There's no way. Having to deal 3 damage is a huge ask. And it's combat damage. So, like, maybe there was a world where if it wasn't combat damage and it was just damage, there could be, like, an indirect damage deck where you're playing, like, a Boba list or something, and you're synergizing with the Force, and you're doing Boba things, but also, like, they're forced to put damage on their units, because if they're putting the damage on their base, you're claiming the Force, but that didn't happen. It has to be 3 or more combat damage. So, and I don't believe indirect damage is a form of combat damage. It's not. It has to be an attack from a unit. So, like, this right here is a clear cut and dry, and it's not anywhere near Tarkin Town. So those decisions are easier than, like, the Mystic Monastery and Data Vault conversation. But the base thing, is it worth, like, is set 5 enough to say, yeah, we need 4 spaces, Data Vault and ECL are just, it's not it anymore. These bases are not, they're just not it. I highly doubt it. Even just with the little testing I've done, with set 5, I can tell you right now, sitting up against, I'll be very happy if I was a Kira Data Vault sitting up against a Mystic Monastery Obi-Wan or anything. I don't know if the impact is where it's going to need to be for it to be groundbreaking for these new bases to completely take over the real estate of the already triumphant, Data Vault, Tarkin Town, ECL. I just don't know yet, so we'll see. Shall see. And lastly, it's really just a broad discussion, and we can honestly just pop this into a final thoughts segment. Will set 5 really shake up the meta like people are thinking it will? I'm going to do a general answer of no. Do I feel like there's a few legendary cards that will spice up what's already meta and sort of make them even stronger, like Kira? Yes. I think there'll be a couple oddball, like I said, the up and coming leaders. I think there can be the oddball meta shakeup there, but I don't think that, like, set 5 impact, I don't know if it's gonna be enough to say, like, oh, this was like set 1 meta defining. I think literally just the new Vader legendary unit is enough to say, like, okay, like, that was like Avenger type impact, or like Super Laser Blast type impact. I think it's fair to, like, compare that for sure. But that might even be a reach too, because I feel like Vader unit is only really good if you're, like, I only feel like he's that earth shattering if you're ambushing him in. Like, I know it's been talked about a lot, and I'm pretty much agreeing with that statement. But I just don't feel like the new set will. I don't feel like your top 5, like, back to this real quick. Do I feel like this is really going to change much? Or do I feel like this is going to change much from set 5? I feel like it just makes them better. I don't feel like it changes what leaders are going to be in the top meta. Like, maybe you get Obi-Wan that slides into that list of top dogs. I don't think Mother Talzin, Kylo, or Avar will slide in there. I think Obi-Wan's maybe the only one who really has like a clear defining, like, I think he's good enough to put in the meta with the top dogs. I think he's the only one from set 5. So when we talk about, like, will set 5 shake up the meta? Talk about the meta. We're talking about decks that are winning events. I think the cards that come from set 5 will make the current meta better. Will it shake up the meta? No, I don't think so. Happy to be wrong. I'm happy to be told why or why not we agree with some of this stuff. I know some of this, some creators have already put out their version of this, primers or whatever. It's not really a primer. It's just, these are just thoughts that are coming out of me that I'm putting on the screen for you. I honestly think the cards that come with set 5 will impact the current meta and make them better. I don't think the current meta leaders will change much. Pretty much where I'm going. Let me know your thoughts. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for tapping in. And yeah, guys, I'll see you in the next one.